All right, ladies and gentlemen, Pally Time 215 here. Okay, so we are going to start off our very first, I guess it's going to be a first video in a series. I'll try to make a playlist for this series as I do like one of these a day. But Drakova sent me a bunch of his personal, like what he's planning for Phase 4 to duel certain classes with. And he wrote me a bunch of stuff clearly that we have on the screen right now on the subject. So I was just going to go through them one at a time, and today we're going to do warlocks. I think up here he's talking about rogue stuff. And we start here. So I'll read what he says on this suit before we go look at this suit. I would highly suggest pulling up the suit in the description below, and just basically just listen to me ramble on. And that way you can be more interactive with it. Okay, so what he's saying is, basically, you are low rank SOR and get nice damage from it to proc Edward to stay alive. Okay, a nice fast weapon. Enough shadow resist, he's going just enough shadow resist that they have to use their curse. You can't remove to lower your SR. So basically, it's like Curse of Elements, lowers your fire resist, lowers your shadow resist, I think. I could be wrong. Reflectors, so you can get big off big holy lights. That's actually a big deal. A shadow reflector is a big deal. Maybe he's going fire reflector. I don't know. Medicine bag versus Destro Warlock. So you can recover from the big incinerations, the succubus and incineration combo. I guess he's planning on possibly coming out of the incineration combo, popping medicine bag, maybe throwing down a whipper root, and just murdering the succubus that way. So he saves a lot of his cooldowns for other things. Lots of fire resist. Fire resist is a big deal. We're going to talk about that when we actually see the spec. To stop incinerates. It's actually more important from stopping incinerates and fire damage coming out of a Destro lock. It's far more important for stopping grenades and goblin mortar and stuff. Because if you're sitting with like heavy fire resist, even against like a Destro lock, it becomes really hard for them to stun you, and you can just kind of heal through their shit, especially if you just jump on the succubus and obliterate it. Okay, so here's the spec. I think the lock can still win, but the fight goes both ways. A shit ton of pushback, fast weapon, SOR, and Skelly Summon. Skelly Summon's a big deal. We'll talk about that. Time on target with Mithril Insig. Versus locks, I often stun the Fell Hunter and pop Shadow Reflector and Holy Light myself. To avoid pushback, not the silence. Interesting. Okay. Oh, this is Reckoning, right? I need to convey this. So all these builds that Drakova sent me are all Reckoning builds. One sec, I'm trying to find my water. Maybe I put the water a million miles away from me so I couldn't drink it. Oh, here we go. So somebody complained they don't like the water drinking sounds, so I'm going to turn off the volume here for a second. Okay, and we're back. So yeah, so all these builds are Reckoning builds. That's why this confused me at first. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean you're popping Shadow Reflector to avoid pushbacks? What the hell? While he's Holy Lighting, but it makes sense here because as Reckoning you wouldn't really have. Maybe he's got his talent tree I can look at. Weave in command and eventually a harder hitting weapon. So Drakova has kind of gotten pretty good at, what do you call it? He likes the SOR for the pushback. He likes the SOR for the cheap mana is what I'm understanding here. But he's also been practicing a lot with seal twisting with rank 1 seal of command. And it's hard to do, but rank 3 SOR into rank 1 seal of command is so cheap that you might as well do it. I would highly suggest instead of seal twisting in the seal of command, you seal twist in justice instead. It's much easier to get off, and you're probably going to get more DPS out of Edward the Odd from the 2-second stun, especially with all the pushback and shit, than you're going to be getting out of seal of command. I imagine if I could talk to Drakova right now, he'd totally agree and be like, yeah, I should have wrote that. So we're just going to assume that he did. Anyways, let's get on to this here build. Let me see if he actually has the spec. Okay, nothing in Holy. He's got 25 in protection, right down to Reckoning. He's got nothing in improved concentration. He does have the improved stun. Yeah, this is, yeah, he's got a spec here. This is legit. Okay, he goes all the way down into 1 point of Vengeance. If Vengeance is magical in nature, like if it can be purged, then I'm really digging this 1 point in there, because it's just another thing people have to purge. Other than that, okay. Well, it's Drakova, so I guess I can't talk shit. Let me see here. Back to the gear. Okay, so first off, I'm just going to straight look at the stats. I'm not going to care what kind of gear he has. You can see he's got 55 in shadow resist. He's got 72 fire resist. He can easily pump that up a bit once his Furbog medicine pouch is gone, but he's totally going to probably go into skeleton summon for reasons we talked about in other videos, but I'll probably just recite it here again. Make sure I'm recording, make sure I'm not pulling a Drakova and being retarded. Melee crit, melee attack power. Where's the weapon damage? DPS. Does it show me DPS? Attack power, attack rating, damage. Okay, DPS. Damage per second is actually impressive. 86 is not bad at all. With a heavy resist suit. Okay, so now I'm gonna look at the gear in general. Hit points. Oh god damn! Okay, now that's sexy. He's close to 5,000 hit points with resists. Me definitely like. Drakova kind of has a way of putting. I can see it right here with the attack power plus 210. So I'm not sure. I think Drakova found a way to put like certain blessings on you, like to record if you have kings or not on, or if you got might on or something. I'm not sure if that's rolling, but if he's got actually 5,000 hit points just chilling, that's some scary shit right there. Yeah, as far as blessings go, against a Destro lock, you probably want to use kings. But once their burst is done and you're physically on top of them, just go might. Like, Blessing of Might actually gives you a lot more play than just about anything else. I could be wrong about that. You might just want the extra hit points. Okay, so he's got the Blaze Fiery Medallion. He actually has this on his main, I hear. It drops off Lord Kha'Zix, but it's got a high drop rate, so he's like, it's easy to get. I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. So the extra fire damage from this weapon causes pushback. And it also causes things like Grounding Totem to be consumed. So he's a real big fan of this thing. And as you can see, it's got some stamina. It's got some shadow, some fire resist on it. So pretty good. Let's see what else here. He's got, damn, he's got 8-piece T2. Okay, I'm kind of digging this already. Dragon's Blood Cape with fire resist. Yeah, I can see that. Judgment Binding, so it's all just going to be Judgment, Judgment, Judgment. He's got some a couple non-phase 4 enchants. So what I said in the previous video was this build is kind of Drakova. All these builds are kind of Drakova speculating on, once we get past phase 4, he's assuming that there's going to be a tournament dueling meta of phase 4 meta. So dueling is at its funnest in phase 4? My bad. Yeah, like phase 3, phase 4, and then it gets kind of boring once phase 5 and phase 6 come out. So he's kind of been sinking his brain into this because he really... what's his spell power? He's assuming that 200. Yeah, that's a base tier 2, 200 spell power. Okay, so he's got some shit going on here. 2% chance to hit. I'm not a big fan of that, but Drakova this is a Reckoning build, so he's planning on switching into two-handed style once he gets a lot of the once he gets the pets dead and he gets a lot of the hard CCs out of his opponent. He's planning on going two-handed with this, and subsequently I approve of this item choice of plus 2% hit. So I did a video on it, but I'll just reiterate it here. With fast one-handed speed weapons, you really don't need 2% hit on the weapon, because if you do the math, you're missing one auto attack every 50 melee swings. And then if you start calculating, okay, how many seconds of beating on my target would it take before I miss an attack? The answer is over 60 seconds of actually wailing on your opponent before you miss one attack. And when you miss one attack, it's not that big of a deal anyways. So what this translates into is every other duel you might miss an attack. And then every like 4 duels you might miss like 2 attacks. But yeah, so that's kind of what that translates into. Oh no, it's not even 1 in 4. It's like 1 in 8. Every 1 in 8 duels statistically you'll miss 2 attacks during the course of that duel. So there's really no point in you're better off rolling the RNG dice and getting more DPS oriented gear and saying, okay, I'm going to flip a coin and assume I don't miss and take all the bonus DPS from that versus trying to get the 100%. This is kind of the way it is. And that's kind of a nature of RNG management too, is a lot of times you're better off flipping that coin or rolling that dice to have higher DPS potential than you are just having consistency. Trying to very quietly take a drink of water. All right, so he's got Shadow Reflector. I'm a big fan of Shadow Reflector. It is really good versus Warlocks because it does all kinds of nasty shit. Like, if you think about what you get out of the Shadow Reflector, the moment you pop a Shadow Reflector, the only thing that can stop you from healing is a grenade or a Goblin Mortar. Or, a God forbid, a Tidal Charm. And since you have such high fire resist in this build, you're kind of almost baiting them. I wouldn't say that. But the odds that stun is going to actually affect you is actually pretty low, believe it or not. Especially since he'll probably just immediately go into Fire Resist Aura, pop the Shadow Reflector, and then be like, yo. On top of that, when you time the Shadow Reflector decently, you very easily get damage pushed back onto your opponent. Like, you get dots on them. That's a really good. You can reflect Shadow Bolts. God help them if you reflect a Shadow Bolt and a dot. So, yeah, you can usually get damage back on the Warlock, which is a big deal. The total time on target with this build and with proper functioning tactics is pretty good. I imagine that Drakova will not be popping his Mithril Insignia unless he's gotten out the hard CC from the opponent. He's already managed to get himself to full life. He's closed with the target, and he's about to jump all over the target. He probably even has some Reckoning charges at this point. But he's definitely going to be in two-hander is basically what I'm trying to say. So I guess the play versus like a Destro lock or the vast majority of locks would be you use the medicine bag predominantly to help you survive. Then you go over there and you try to chase after the Warlock a little bit, to beating on him with Edward just to put a little pressure on him, just to wear down their health bar a bit, and to try to get out the hard CCs. So what I like to do is I like to sit at range and force out the hard CCs. I'm thinking what Drakova is going to be doing with this build is he's going to say, I can't do that because I'm Holy Reckoning. Like, if you look at the build, he's like, he has no spiritual focus. So he's like, I can't do that. I'm Holy Reckoning. I can't sit at range and just heal and force out these hard CCs. So what he's going to do is he's going to jump on top of this guy, and he's going to start beating on them, and he's going to beat on them enough with the pushback and with the stuns and the grenades and all that stuff that he's going to force out the hard CCs that way. He's going to be like, I'm going to be beating on your bitch ass, then I get stunned with the grenade. They get distance from me. They start casting on me again. I think that's the plan here. Eventually, once he gets out those hard CCs and he uses his Shadow Reflector to heal back to full, he's going to switch into a two-hander. He'll probably do that even before. It'll probably be, oh, you got away from me and you used a grenade? Okay, now I'm going to switch into it. My Mithril pouch is done. I'm going to switch into a two-hander. I'm going to heal the full, and I'm going to come back at you with Mithril Insignia. Now, there's a big trade-off here. So, if you're doing Mithril Insignia, you're not doing Skelly Summon offhand. Now, there are two thought processes on this. You're not using the Book of Grimm. So let me pull this up and just type Grimm, just so we can all see. Grimm! Oh, ancient cornerstone grim something. Ancient cornerstone grim ori. Oh boy. That was very lovely. Can I replace the item with that? Like, is that not how this works? Like, I wanna change the item out. You suck. Fine, whatever. Ah, these links. Okay, so apparently I can't do that. But anyway, so your options are to go two-handed, but you give up the possibility of doing a skelly summon, or you can go two-handed. And yeah, you go two-handed, you give up the possibility of a skelly summon. My brain just died there. It was fascinating. Or you can stay one-handed and you can go the skelly summon route. Now, there are two thought processes on this. You can either, on the Holy Reckoning build, you kind of want to hold back the skelly summon for if Mithril Insignia fails you. So if Mithril Insignia fails to kill the Warlock, the play is, oh shit, I'm going to get feared. I see the fear coming. I can't stop the fear. I summon the Skelly Pet, and then I suffer the full fear. And the Skelly Pet lasts so long, and it does so much damage, and it has so much health, and it is so hard to kill, that the Warlock, he can't get out of it to eat and drink, even after like 3 fear cycles. So he fears you away, you come out of the fear, you run back over to him, he fears you away, you get out of the fear, you run back over to him, he fears you away, you get out of the fear, you run back over to him. By the time that sequence of events has played out, your skeleton summon is just starting to wear off, and you're back on top of the Warlock. The Warlock has to wait upwards of like 15, 16, 20 seconds before he can fear you again because of all the pushback and all that crap. And he's just dead. So that's how I like using the skeleton summon offhand. But with Holy Reckoning, I'm kind of envisioning what Drakova might want to do here is he's going to use the medicine pouch. He's going to push in on the Warlock for pressure. He's going to instantly switch into the Skelly Summon offhand. And the idea behind I'm going to go into the Skelly Summon offhand is he's going to have to suffer. I think he's going to use it a lot sooner. So he's going to use the Skelly Summon offhand a lot sooner to help leverage, to help generate pushback and pressure on the Warlock. Just because he is a Reckoning build. And he just can't stop at any point in time and just heal himself, period. However, that pushback from a Skelly Summon is severe enough that theoretically he can heal. But if he's physically on top of his opponent, he still has grenades and stuns and stuff that he can heal himself if he needs to. But it becomes infinitely easier to heal himself if there's this annoying frickin' skeleton beating on the Warlock. He can definitely get out flashes of light if he has to heal himself. Hopefully Edward the Odd comes in clutch. It doesn't have the greatest proc rate. It's only got like a 5.6% chance to proc. But he has enough resist and he has enough health that he can probably get the job done. But getting out the Skelly Summon, basically what that does for you is, I'm pretty sure you don't have to stay on the offhand after you've done. The Skeleton Pet will stay in combat even if you switch. It'll stay around even if you switch into a two-hander, is what I'm trying to say. So I think he's going to get out the summon offhand and then immediately go into a two-hand, and then he's going to really try to put the screws to the Warlock. With Mithril Insignia against like a Destro lock, you can literally just go over there and kill them. Like, you don't even have to really play around with it. The only thing that's going to get you off of them is going to be a... Does he have, what's the enchant on his weapon? Okay, he's got life stealing. You might want to go chilling enchant on Edward the Odd, but then again, you want life stealing in a variety of situations. So I can see what's going with that. But the only thing that's going to get you off that damn Warlock as a paladin is going to be a grenade, right? And if he gets grenaded and the paladin, the Warlock gets some distance, that's kind of a signal for him to start healing up. Or he might catch a fear from that. Or he might just go all in on the Warlock and grenade them right back and catch right back up to them and start beating on them. The theme with Drakova's playstyle with Holy Reckoning is he does not like to sit back very much and and play the rope-a-dope style. I don't think you can afford to do it with Ret Reckoning, so he's going to come in hot, he's going to come in hard, and he's going to try to do as much damage as possible and as much sustain as possible. I would highly suggest in this build judging Seal of... What's your mana look like? Oh, you're good. Judging Seal of Light on the target to try to get back as much health as possible while beating on this Warlock. Later, you can change into Seal of the Crusader, but he'll probably just switch into a two-hander and go ham on the target and basically annihilate them. But again, if you're dealing with a Destro lock, Mithril Insignia and Shadow Reflector and Medicine Pouch alone. These 3 items alone. 9 times out of 10, they just let you go over to Senor Destro Warlock and fucking kill them. Like, you don't need to use the Skeleton Offhand Summon book. You don't need to use anything all that fancy. It's just, oh shit, there was a succubus. I got seduced by the succubus. Here comes the big ass Incinerate. I've got, let me think, 132-ish fire resist or more. Oh, look, it didn't kill me. Because statistically, that's what's going to happen, right? Like, even if it crits, it'll probably only do like half damage when it crits because of all the damn fire resist. So it's like, oh, look, it didn't kill me. Oh, I'm going to kill the succubus and pop my medicine pouch. Oh, look, I'm coming back to life. Okay, now I killed the succubus. If I have to, let me pop a Shadow Reflector and heal myself to full. Now I'm going to switch in. I'm going to close on the target with a two-hander and a Mithril Insignia at full life, and I'm just going to fucking kill this Warlock. That's probably 9 times out of 10 what happens in that basic scenario. What the hell is this? Interesting. Anyways, that's 9 times out of 10 that's what's going to happen in that scenario. He's got all this other stuff in case RNGesus fails him, right? He's got the Skeleton Summon book potentially in the pocket in case RNG goes bad. He's got Shadow Reflector so he can save his bubble, but he might have to use bubble if RNGesus fails him. Like, the 1 out of, like, Jesus, I don't want to think about that. It's like 1 out of 12 duels that Soulfire or Incinerate or whatever it is comes in and it does not get resisted and it critically hits you, he might just throw in bubble. And under those conditions, it's Skeleton Summon time is basically what I'm saying from there. But overall, yeah, I don't dislike this build at all. You would change this build somewhat if you were dealing with an SL Warlock or an Affliction Warlock. Like, literally, the shift would just be away from all this fire resist and into more shadow resist. Like, you might even strip off the Dragon's Blood cape and go specifically for some type of shadow resist cape that I have no idea what you would use. You would definitely strip off the 2% chance to hit, I do believe, against like an SL Warlock or an Affliction Warlock and try to get something a bit more shadow resisty. Just because against those 2 types of Warlocks, shadow resist becomes more your boy than DPS. But I could be wrong. Maybe the resisting the grenades and the Goblin Mortars is still pretty much the way to go. Edward the Odd is going to be in this fight long enough to come in clutch. Like, he'll probably be amazing in every other duel. Like, you'll probably have one duel where Edward the Odd didn't do shit for you, and then you'll have another duel where Edward the Odd was your boy, and then at 1 out of 4 duels, Edward the Odd is just going off like crazy, and he's just completely winning the fight for you, almost single-handed. Yeah, this is just a decent. You can see this isn't far from my builds. Oh yeah, the Blazing Emblem. The Blazing Emblem has to come off against non-Destro Warlocks, so there's just really no point to having it on. Go with some more Shadow Resist oriented stuff for sure. But the vast majority of Warlocks you end up dueling these days are Desto. So this helps explain entirely why he's thinking, yeah, I'm going to gear out for fighting those stupid pesky Destro Warlocks. And some slight modifications, and the next thing you know, you're fighting other types of Warlocks. What really catches my interest on this, though, is... So, a little history lesson. Let me make sure we're still recording before I go into this history lesson a bit. Now, so, history lesson, me and Drakova have been friends for like 3 years, almost 3 years now. Around about the time a little bit past when Trump got elected, basically, is how long we've been friends. And what happened was he told me about Hen House. I got on Hen House with him, and then he was on Hen House a little bit, playtesting stuff, and then he kind of fucked off for a while. And I ended up staying on Hen House under the name Rishi Doom, which you can see in one of my previous videos. I was not Pally Time on Hen House, so people are probably like, who the hell is this guy on Hen House? I was the paladin on Hen House that always used Skullforge Reaver. I think I was the only damn paladin that used Skullforge Reaver. And Drakova left me there for I spent hundreds, if not thousands, of hours dueling people on Hen House. And the whole time, Drakova wasn't actually the biggest fan of my tier 2 build. Like, I think it took a while to grow on him, like, or to wrap his mind around it, kind of a thing. So I don't know at what point he started getting into the tier 2 is actually good against Warlock. And what fascinates me even more is when he would do Warlock, he would be in like a heavy resist suit. So he'd be using like what you saw S-Fan use and what you saw Peaceblade use, which is like you're mixing tier 2 pieces with tier 1 pieces to try to get as much resists as possible, and you're just trying to go over there and out resist the Warlock to death. So I'm really curious to find out at what point in time he really started getting into no, what we're actually going to do is we're going to go just straight tier 2, and we're going to play it essentially a variation of Pally Time style, but we have to be more aggressive in this case because we are Holy Reckoning, and we cannot just straight heal ourselves. So I'm very curious about that. Maybe I'll see some other trends in the other builds as we go on, with him showing my strats a bit more respect. But maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so I guess my stuff is growing on him a bit. So that's nice to see. Mug of Hurt might also be really good in the situation. Like, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe, yeah, probably Frost Oil is the way to go. I wouldn't use Mug of Hurt. So what I was trying to think was like, okay, if you got the target slowed, then the opportunity for them to grenade you and then get distance away from you is cut off the table. However, I think the play from them is they're going to grenade you and they're just going to fear you. But that would actually be really hard to do if they grenade you and they try to fear you if they have a skeleton chewing on them. So there's a lot of weird advanced tactics that I'd really need to hear Drakova's thoughts on the subject, because again, the fact that he has no points in Holy whatsoever and he can't just stop and heal himself at any point in time completely changes the nature of this matchup. Oh, I completely forgot he has Eye for a fucking Eye. So with Eye for an Eye, he's probably the happiest paladin in the world if that Soulfire hits him and he fails to resist it and it crits. That's probably a legitimate scenario and a line of play he's not entirely upset with at all. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. This build is 100% viable. Mild changes for the other two types of Warlocks, where you just basically strip out the fire resist and you put it more heavily into shadow resist, forcing them to use the lower resist curse. Like a lot of paladins complain about this. Like I've heard S-Fan blather on about this sometimes. Drakova talks about it a little bit too, but if they're having to if they have to lower your resists, right? If they have to use that, it means they're not putting Curse of Agony on you. And if they're not putting Curse of Agony on you, you're going to watch their DPS, especially when they can't, especially when they're having pushback issues from you fast weapon speeding attacking them with SOR, you're going to watch their DPS fall off a fucking cliff, especially if you're judging light into them. In this case, I completely forgot he doesn't have improved or lasting judgment, so it might be better if he just goes like raw DPS into the target. But I could be wrong about that. There's probably arguments for both. If your Mithril Insignia is up and running, you're usually trying to go for the kill. So again, I really don't know which one's better. Yeah, so I guess I can leave it there. But Yeah, so if they have to use the curse that lowers your resistances, sad face on you, but their DPS is just gone. And that this is kind of why Edward the Odd in this situation may or may not be better for you than Lochamir. Still trying to think, are there any other weapons you'd want to use in this situation as a Holy Reckoning Paladin other than Edward the Odd? And the answer is possibly Hikari Manslayer, but you lose a lot of speed and you lose a lot of DPS from that. And Edward the Odd is just kind of pimp. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, I'll have to think about this more, and I'll definitely keep making videos, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah.